We are floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show, where we're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. That's how Daddy used to say it. All right, everybody, welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my friend, the guy who always watches my sixes, my main man, Dr. Paul Thompson. How you doing today, Brother Paul?
Pretty good, Commander Drew. Lord Commander Drew, it is now. Good to see you again. I guess you're back from the high seas and you're still got your Knicks gear on.
I do. Knicks are champions, and I just got back from a Virgin Voyage Alaskan cruise. I did a back-to-back on Brilliant Lady, and it was absolutely breathtaking. You and I used to fly to Anchorage all the time, but we went to other places in Alaska and saw some of the amazing sights in the forest, and there's so much land there. So thank you, Virgin Voyage, for taking care of the Wingman Show. All right, today's quote, we like to start off with a positive quote. And today's quote is by Garth Brooks, that country music singer. And he says, "Too much credit is given to the end result. The true lesson is in the struggle that takes place between the dream and reality. That struggle is a thing called life." One more time. "Too much credit is given to the end result. The true lesson is in the struggle that takes place between the dream and reality. And that struggle is a thing called life." What do you think about that, Dr. P?
Yeah, that's interesting. I got a thing called right. The first thing I think of is that Prince song, Let's Go Crazy. But yeah, that thing called life is, yeah, it has a lot of struggles in it, but struggles you can overcome if you try. The big thing is to try.
Very good. Let's start this off. The title of our show today is When AI Becomes a Wingman. So, Doc, tonight, our wingman story isn't just one person helping another, it's entire communities getting a new kind of wingman, AI that fights hunger and waste.
Yeah, around the world, farmers grow enough food, but a huge amount never makes it to anyone's plate. It spoils on the way to market. May sit in the wrong temperature or get stuck in bad logistics. That's not just wasted food, that's wasted effort, wasted money and families staying hungry, Commander Drew.
Well, Dr. Paul, innovators are asking a different question. What if we used AI like a wingman, standing next to farmers and communities to keep food alive longer and get it where it needs to go? And that's exactly what's happening, Doc.
Yeah, one idea is solar cold rooms. They're small local refrigerators powered by the sun. You got AI systems that watch temperatures, to predict when crops will spoil, and send alerts like move this batch first or share this storage with the next village. Sell before you lose it. So the tech turns a basic cold room into an intelligent wingman.
And it doesn't just help the farmer. This kind of setup means the entire village has more stable food and income. Less spoilage means more product to sell, more cash for school fees, and fewer nights going to bed hungry, Doc.
Yeah, another angle is smart logistics. You get AI that looks at the roads, the traffic, the weather, the market demand, and says, don't drive 3 hours with the truck half empty. Fill from two farms. Go to the market where prices are higher and free space exists. It's like a logistics officer with instant intel, cutting waste and costs all at the same time.
Well, instead of one farmer guessing alone, you've got a digital wingman who sees the whole battlefield, every truck, every cold room, and every market, and helps people make better calls. That's real powerful.
Yeah, and some projects go even further. They show communities on a simple screen how many kilos of food they saved this week, how many families got fed, even how much climate impact they avoided by not wasting that food. So now the data becomes the motivation, saying like, we saved enough food for 300 meals. we kept this much from the landfill.
Well, that's the big wingman picture, tech helping humans see their own impact so they keep going when it gets hard.
Yeah. We talk on the show about wingmen stepping in when someone's at risk. These AI for good projects are doing that at scale. They're catching food before it dies and catching families before they fall deeper into poverty.
Well, Doc, here's the takeaway for our wingmen listening. Technology isn't the hero by itself. It becomes a hero when it's pointed at real human problems and used with heart. Farmers, communities, and engineers working all together, just like a squadron, Doc.
Yeah. So when you use AI to keep people fed and cut waste, that's not just good tech. That's actually good wingman work, Commander Drew.
All right. So AI as a wingman for the world's dinner table. That's a future we can get behind. Hey, Doc, you ready for some good news?
Yeah, I'm always ready for good news.
All right. Doc, we've got some real good news out of the cancer world, especially for one of the toughest ones out there, and that's pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, you're talking about a new experimental pill. It's called Araxanarazib. It's designed for people whose advanced pancreatic cancer has already spread and stop responding to the standard treatment.
So now this isn't a cure, but it's a big, big step. In a major study, patients on this pill actually lived a median of 13.2 months compared to 6.7 months on more chemotherapy. And that's nearly double the survival time. It's the first drug to clearly beat chemo for this disease, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, and it's not just about months, it's about how those months feel. So patients reported less pain, a better quality of life, and stayed on the pill longer than people could tolerate that extra chemo. So for doctors who fought this cancer for years, some actually said they literally cried when they saw the results, Commander Drew.
Well, the science is pretty fascinating. The pill targets KRAS mutations. These are tiny changes in a gene that drive tumor growth in most pancreatic cancers. You see, for decades, those mutations were considered undruggable. This medicine uses a kind of molecular glue to latch on to multiple KRAS types and shut down that signal that tells the tumor to grow even more.
It's also important to say the pill does have side effects like rashes and mouth sores, and it's still experimental with carefully controlled access. But cancer specialists are calling it a potential new standard for advanced pancreatic cancer, and they're already testing it earlier in the disease, hoping it might shrink tumors enough to make more patients eligible for surgery.
Well, here's the wingman angle. For cancer, where 5 year survival is only about 13% and thousands of families are bracing for the worst, having any new tool that adds meaningful time and better days to a patient's life, that's really powerful good news, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, we say on this show that being a wingman means showing up when things are hardest. So these researchers, doctors, and patients volunteering for the trials are doing exactly that. So the next person diagnosed has more hopes than the last. And that kind of touches me personally. I had a relative pass away from pancreatic cancer, as well as people I knew in the Navy and even a FedEx commander.
Yeah, that's a tough disease. It really is. In the fight against pancreatic cancer, this pill isn't the final victory, but it's a real move forward. And in medicine, sometimes one brave step is what opens the door to the breakthrough. Hey, Doc, you want some more good news?
Sure, throw it at me.
All right, sometimes the most powerful stories don't come from scoreboards, they come from the stands.
You're talking about those Japan fans in Texas, right? That World Cup game against the Netherlands that was, I think it ended up 2-2.
Exactly. The whistle blows, most fans head for the exits, but the Japan supporters stay put. You see, they pull out those blue plastic bags and start cleaning the stands, cups, bottles, wrappers, all of it. They actually start cleaning up.
Oh. Yeah, and the key is nobody told them to do it. There's no announcement, there's no security guard, there's no please pick up your trash. They're just fans quietly doing the work.
One of them said, "This is our culture." In Japan, when they use a place, they believe they should leave it cleaner than they found it. That's not performance, that's identity. Like my dad used to tell me, wherever you go, make sure that you're wanted to come back.
Yeah. And that's, I always told my kids the same thing. And that identity starts early. In Japanese schools, kids don't just sit and wait for a janitor. They actually clean their own classrooms, do the floors, they do the desks, they do the hallways every day, Commander Drew.
Wow. So by the time they're adults in the World Cup stadium, cleaning isn't something special. It's just what you do. In aviation, we live that too. You don't hand off a dirty cockpit or a half finished checklist to the next crew. You reset that jet just like someone's life depends on it. You know why? Because it does, Dr. Paul.
You're right. There's another layer they talk about over there reading the air. That's being tuned into how your actions affect people around you. So when one fan starts picking up the trash, others feel, well, I just can't stand there and do nothing.
That's real true. When somebody does one thing good, other people follow, and they just, a lot of people are just sheep. And when it's good stuff, they follow and do good things. So, see, that's leadership without a rank. No stripes, no title, just example. And the example spread. Even NFL quarterback Jameis Winston grabbed the blue Japan shirt and joined the cleanup. Did you know that?
Yeah, yeah, that's just great. You got different sports, you get different countries, but the same principle. One group quietly raises the standard, and other people follow, Commander Drew.
All right, so here's your wingman truth. Culture isn't what's printed on posters in the hallway. Actually, culture is what you do when the game is over and nobody's keeping score, Dr. P.
Yeah. And here's your wingman challenge for this week. Wherever you go, your office, your home, your hangar, your neighborhood, leave that space better than you found it. Pick up that extra trash, fix the loose end, maybe have that hard conversation with someone who's messing stuff up.
You know why? Because when you raise your standards, somebody's watching. Even if it's just through the behavior, they copy later. One quiet action, one blue bag at a time, can change the whole section that you're sitting in.
Yeah, Commander Drew, that's how you become a wingman in the real world. Got quiet actions, but a loud impact.
And if those fans can turn a trash filled stadium into a clean space in a few minutes, imagine what you could do with your world in a week. Love this part of the show. It's the jet jolt because we're two badass jet pilots. So, Project Sunrise, the 20-hour leap. Jet Jolt Wingman, buckle up. Qantas is about to bend time. We're talking a nonstop Sydney to London flight, up to 20 plus hours in the air. No layovers, just one giant leap across the planet, Dr. Paul. And we've done things like that.
Sure have. Yeah, this thing is called Project Sunrise. So the Qantas airline challenged aircraft makers to give us a jet that can carry a real load, real passengers, all the way from Australia's east coast to London and later New York with no fuel stops, no tech demos, the real deal. And now they've got it, Commander Drew.
Well, we used to fly that 777, I believe, almost 16, 17 hours. So this is amazing. But this isn't your standard A350. They've added a massive rear center fuel tank, about 5,300 gallons extra. Stronger structure, higher max takeoff weight, and those big Rolls Royce engines pushing this bird further than anything in routine commercial service. Now that's ultra long range by design, Dr. Paul.
Right. And they're not just flying you longer, they're trying to fly you smarter. More than 40% of the cabin is premium. There's a dedicated well being zone to stretch, to move, to hydrate. Lighting is timed to your destination's day night cycle. The meals, the activity, and sleep are all choreographed based on research with the University of Sydney, to fight jet lag and keep bodies healthy for nearly a full day in the sky.
Drew and Paul's truth moment, we've both flown long haul trips. You feel every minute when the cabin isn't dialed in. On a flight like this, smart lighting, movement space, and a crew trained for fatigue management and in flight medical realities. That's not a luxury, that's a mission survival.
Yeah. The engineering science here are kind of nuts in the best way. The test aircraft isn't a lab queen, it's a real production jet covered with sensors that measure fuel movement, temperatures, ventilation, galley cooling, and comfort, for many, many hours. They even simulate passenger body heat to see how a cabin full of human beings behaves almost a day after being aloft.
And from a pilot's perspective, you're talking polar routes, seasonal winds, fuel management over extreme range, crew rest logistics, contingency planning for medical emergencies way out over the ice and the ocean. This is an ultra long haul ops turned up to 11, Dr. P.
Wow. So remember, this started with a 4-day trip with 7 stops between Sydney and London. And the jet shaved off stopovers one by one. So Project Sunrise is the final cut. There's no more hub hopping, no more camping in airports. It's a straight shot. Australia all the way to the United Kingdom, Commander.
So here's your jet jolt. The same way double sunrise Catalina flights once defined endurance, these A350s runs will define the new era, point to point, human centered cabins, and the jets built around how we travel, not just how far the metal can go, Dr. P.
Yeah, so we're watching the moment when the world's longest flight shifts from record breaking stunt to an everyday schedule. So as pilots, that's the kind of progress that makes you grin under your headset, Commander.
From 4 days and 7 stops to one sunrise, one jet, one epic ride. Jet Jolt Wingman, welcome to the age where the other side of the world becomes a single flight. And remember, Dr. Paul, when we used to sit up there for hours and hours, they had something that would come up if nobody touched a switch at all you had to do was hit any switch in the airplane, and it would shut down that advisory warning.
Yeah, to make sure you're still alive and awake, which is yeah, you had to touch something, which is pretty smart.
Yeah, those were some long flights. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching us. We appreciate all the people who watch us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and especially all our Apple Podcast listeners. We really appreciate it. And you Apple Podcast listeners can go to YouTube so you can see how cool Dr. Paul and Commander Drew Brown look. And if you want to check out some badass jets, check out the one behind Dr. Paul. Now, that's the Marine A4, and both Dr. Paul and myself flew those jets. It was our advanced trainer. Remember that, Paul?
I do. I enjoyed it. They called it the scooter, I think. It was a cool airplane. I enjoyed it.
Yes, very fast, and it could do a 720. In other words, turn 2 circles in 1 second. It was amazing. And if you look behind me, I have my AI generated group of 4 A6s, and it's spelling the Wingman Show. AI is incredible, and I love the things it can do for me. We also have a website, and that website is wingmenshow.com. That's WINGMENSHOW.com. And on our website, we have a newsletter. A great newsletter this week is When AI Becomes a Wingman. Also, on that website, we have a great thing called the frequent flow line, and that's where you guys get to write Commander Drew and Dr. Paul, and we'll try to get to your letters. All right, everybody, it's time for our frequent flow line. And I just want to let you know our Wingman AC's just an AI chat box. Don't forget, it's not human and it's not 100% correct. But Dr. Paul and myself, we really want you to look into AI because it's an incredible tool. So here's our frequent flow line letter. So it says, Dear Command Drew, Dr. Paul, and Ace, we're writing from Norfolk, Virginia with a question that's very close to our hearts. My husband is about to leave on a 6-month deployment aboard an aircraft carrier. We know from your stories that you've both served on carriers and understand what that world is really like. Long days at sea, tight schedules, and the kind of distance that you don't just measure in miles. The kids and I are already feeling the loneliness and sadness of knowing we won't see him for months. The kids are asking when daddy is coming home, and I'm trying to hold everything together here: school, bills, bedtime, and the emotions that come with watching him pack his sea bag. We want to support him, stay strong as a family, and not let this deployment break us down. What can we do to handle the separation, keep our connection alive, and make these 6 months something we can look back on with pride instead of just pain? Thank you for being our wingman in this, a Navy family in Norfolk, Virginia. Ace, why don't you talk to the family?
All right, family. First off, you are not weak for feeling this. Carrier deployments are long, demanding, and yeah, the distance hits hard. What helps, based on what we've lived and seen, is creating rhythms before you leave. Predictable touch points, maybe Sunday emails, bedtime voice notes, short videos when signal allows. Doesn't need to be long, just steady. Kids do better with countdowns too, paper chains, calendar marks, little milestones so time feels visible. And for you, you've got to build your own squad, a friend you can text, fellow spouse who gets it. Don't carry it all solo. Celebrate the small wins, a good report card, a silly family moment. Even if he's halfway around the world, share those little wins with him. That keeps him connected. And listen, pride and pain often live together during deployment. It's okay, it's not either or. If you stay honest, keep communication simple and consistent, and lean on community, you can come through this stronger. You're already doing the right thing by asking. You're already showing strength. We've got you.
Wow, Ace, what a great answer. Well, first of all, Norfolk Wingman family, thank you. You're serving right along your sailor. And even if you're not the ones wearing the uniform, 6 months on a carrier is hard on a sailor. I can tell you that. But it's just as hard on the family at home.
Yeah, we've both done those deployments. We know what it feels like when the ship pulls away and the pier gets smaller. That ache you're feeling, that's normal. Doesn't mean you're weak. It just means you love him big.
So here's the first thing you can do: build a deployment plan, not just a deployment worry. Make a simple calendar with milestones, holidays, birthdays, school events. Mark them as messages to send, photos to share, letters to write. Create rituals just like Ace was talking about. Sunday video messages, one picture a day from the kids. A weekly email that talks about what you're proud of, not just about what went wrong.
Yeah. And don't try to be a one person superhero. You can use your support network. You got other Navy families, base chapel, family readiness groups, the ombudsman contacts, and community resources in Norfolk like family services or Y programs that understand deployment life. Let some trusted friends and relatives help with pickups and meals or kids' activities. That's not failure. That's smart wingman strategy.
For the kids, give them something they can touch and do, something like a daddy deployment box where they put their drawings, school awards, and little notes to share when he comes home. Also a world map where they can mark where daddy might be in general terms, so it feels less like he disappeared and more like he's on an important mission, which he truly is.
And for you, the spouse to a sailor, guard your own rest. Those small moments that you take walks, do some reading, pick up a hobby, even a quiet coffee now and then. 6 months is a marathon, not a sprint. So speak kindly to yourself on the tough days. I'm allowed to miss him. I'm allowed to be tired, but I'm still doing a good job.
And from the carrier side, your husband needs to know three things. You're proud of him. Home is not falling apart, and there's a welcome waiting when he steps off that ship. Short, honest messages do more than long, dramatic ones. We love you. We miss you. We got things handled today. That's real rocket fuel for a tired sailor.
Yeah. Remember, deployments end eventually. The pier fills up, the band plays, kids hold signs, and that first hug erases a lot of those hard nights. So use these months to build stories you'll tell later. Here's how strong we were. Here's how we got through this together.
So you ask what you can do? Well, here's your wingman assignment. Make a plan, use your support, give the kids a mission, especially take care of yourself like you're part of the crew because you are. You're not alone in this. Every carrier that sails from Norfolk leaves a wake of brave families behind on shore. And now you're part of that squadron. And from two former carrier guys to you, thank you for sharing your sailor with the sea. We're standing with you, wingman, every mile of that 6-month run. And you are serving right along with him. Thank you for your service.
This is a Wingman PSA. In the sky, your partner has your back. Now, let's get to it.
Climbing in now, systems green.
And now we have the Wingmen PSA. And from the 11 facts in life, under fact number 6 is lust. And lust is sex without love. Lust. Lust is sex without love. And I used to tell the kids all the time that a roach can have sex, but it takes a real man to be a father. And I said this, and sometimes people didn't like it, but I told young ladies, if you don't want to get pregnant, don't open up your legs. You have anything to say about that, Paul?
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about the roach. Well, yeah, that's true. Being a parent is a long haul. It starts from the time of conception and probably lasts all your life, not just a one night stand.
All right, everybody, we're up to the gouge. We know we love gouge. Gouge is shit you need to know, but sometimes nobody tells you, and we learned that in the Navy. Gouge is real important information. So we're going to get the gouge from Ace today. All right, Ace, we're going to give you the gouge question, and we need the gouge from you. Based on how successful niche podcasts really grow, what are the unspoken tactics that matter more than social media posts? Things like episode titling, release timing, thumbnail language, and segment structure that veteran producers quietly optimize but never talk about in generic how-to podcast guides. Give us the gouge, Ace.
All right, Ace here. Here's the gouge. First thing most folks miss, titles beat cleverness. Make them promise a takeaway, not a number. Second, your first 3 minutes are everything. Hook with the story or problem, not theme music and long intros. Third, one big memorable idea per episode, something listeners can repeat to a friend. That's how word of mouth starts. Fourth, build structure listeners can anticipate. Favorite recurring segments like the gouge, so folks fall into a rhythm. Fifth, thumbnails. Keep them clean, bold words, not busy art. And consistency beats timing. Just be reliably on the same day. Don't chase perfect release times. Edit for energy, not length. Cut dead air, double explanations. Most of all, know exactly who you're serving. Niche beats broad every time. Lean into what makes your show different. Real Navy aviator leadership, practical lessons, and don't be everything to everybody. Be the one thing your people can't get anywhere else. That's how you build a loyal audience that grows steady even without chasing the social trend.
Wow, that's some good gouge. And we plan to follow that because what we do is we bring good news to people. Because, look, both of us said if it bleeds, it leads. Well, we're tired of bad news. There are good things that happen out there all the time. And Dr. Paul and myself will bring you these good news stories because what we really want is we want you to feel better when you finish listening to our podcast than when you started it. All All right, everybody, it's the Wingman Story time. And we love to promote people who help other people. So, Doc, tonight's Wingman Story comes out of a pediatric hospital on a rainy Norfolk night. A young mom, Jasmine, is on a 2-day watch with her 5-year-old son, Stephen, who's fighting a sudden infection. She's exhausted, scared to close her eyes, and feels like if she steps away for 1 minute, something bad might happen.
Yeah, Commander Drew, we both seen that look, whether it's on a carrier at 0300 in the morning or in a hospital room. It's a stare of somebody on watch, but has no backup.
Down the hall, an older respiratory therapist, Mr. Lewis, who was a former Navy corpsman, walks by her door and recognizes that look instantly. He steps in, checks Stephen, and then does something nobody tells you to do in training. He goes to the whiteboard and writes Night Watch Team at the top, adds the names of the nurse, doctor, and himself, and underneath he writes, "You are not alone between midnight and 6 a.m."
Yeah, that's wingman magic. He's turning a lonely parent into part of a crew.
And then he brings back a tiny care basket, fresh socks, toothbrush, a snack, a tea bag with a note for Jasmine. Take care of the wingman, too. He sits in the chair by the door and says, I'll watch the monitors. You go wash your face and breathe for 30 minutes. Take a little minute.
Yeah, and that half hour changes everything. Jasmine comes back, still worried, but different, back at the helm instead of drowning. Before he leaves, he has one more line to the board. Jasmine's mission: read one story, get one real laugh, sleep at least 1 hour.
So here's our wingman lesson. Sometimes you don't save the day by doing something huge. You save it by sitting in the chair so someone else can finally exhale. Mr. Lewis took a lonely night and turned it into a shared watch.
The story doesn't just stop there. Later that week, when a new mom showed up with the same terrified eyes, Jasmine walked to that whiteboard and wrote Night Watch Team for her.
One wingman move created another. That's what we're about on this show. Humans helping humans hold the line, one quiet act at a time. And for everybody out there who can hear my voice or see my face, whatever you think is important, whatever you think is beautiful, and especially whatever makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too, Commander Drew. It's good to see you again. Maybe the next time you'll tell our audience how you wrestled the bear in Alaska. But in any case, we appreciate all those who listen, like, and share our message. We would appreciate also if you become a subscriber. Most of you not subscribed, hit the subscription button. That way you'll get a notification when we come out with a new episode. Also, if you're watching us on or listening to us on Apple Podcasts, you can see us on video too. We now have that ability. In any case, we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and refer to use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.